Alright, so we have this word, ecosystem. Eco is derived from the Greek root oikos, meaning house or home. This is kind of a jump in logic, but in the modern day, eco is more to say environment or habitat. Then you have the word system, which means a set of things working together. Put them together, you get a set of things working together in a habitat or environment, an ecosystem. Now, these quote-unquote things can either be living or non-living. That is to say, there can be either biotic or abiotic interactions within an ecosystem. Examples of biotic factors include animals, fungi, plants, bacteria. Basically, if it's alive, it's a biotic factor. Examples of abiotic factors include air, water, temperature, humidity. So yeah, kind of like the opposite logic of biotic factors. If it's not alive, but it's an abiotic factor. Now that we're talking about interactions between living things, it would probably be a good time to talk about symbiosis. I'm sure many of you have watched the 2018 film Venom. This is probably common knowledge to you, but symbiosis is to describe the interaction between two living organisms in close physical proximity to one another. A lot of times in media, we see symbiosis where both organisms benefit. In Finding Nemo, for example, we see a clownfish named Nemo living inside an anemone. Basically, clownfish have special skin that makes them resistant to the stinging effect of the anemone, providing them shelter from predators who aren't as evolutionarily lucky as them. In return, clownfish are pretty territorial, so they can aggressively defend against other sea critters who like to munch on the anemone. And it's a win-win for both sides of the equation, as I've just described. It's called mutualism. Sometimes, though, only one organism benefits and the other is basically unaffected. Take barnacles, for example. They attach themselves onto whales for the sake of transportation, while the whale, well, kind of receives nothing from the interaction. This sort of relationship would be called commensalism. So then we get to our final interaction, where one organism benefits and the other is harmed. Humans, unfortunately, have a lot of examples when it comes to this sort of interaction. One that may have come to mind for you is that of the interaction between mosquitoes and humans. Mosquito gets a nice source of protein, and in return, we humans get the transfer of disease and itchy bite marks. Not our best trade deal of all time. This sort of relationship is called parasitism. Moving on to a topic not strictly related to symbiosis, I'd like to also discuss predator-prey relationships. In predator-prey relationships, one animal, the predator, hunts and eats the other animal, the prey, for food. Doesn't really get more complicated than that. An example of this would be like a wolf hunting down and eating a rabbit, in which case the wolf would be the predator, and the rabbit the prey. In predator-prey relationships, we often see multiple predators hunting down the same food resource, almost like a competition, one could say. It is here that we find another interesting aspect of ecosystems, interspecific and intraspecific resource competition. Now, interspecific means competition across different species, and so naturally interspecific means competition within the same species. So in the given example, if the wolf was competing with other wolves, it would be interspecific. But if the wolf were competing with coyotes, then it would be interspecific. Either way, resource competition is something that evolution likes to avoid, generally, given its predisposition to famine. Thus, only the animals that find ways to work around resource competition live on, introducing us to a topic called resource partitioning. There are many different ways that a species can partake in resource partitioning. They can control the time in which they collect resources, for example. Take moths and bees. Moths collect pollen during the night, while bees collect during the day. This way they can both get pollen without directly competing with each other. Species can also control where they get their resources. For this example, we'll talk about lions and leopards. You think that since they both like to eat antelope, they would probably get into each other's way. But in reality, what happens is that they eat in separate places. Lions in grasslands and leopards in wooded areas. This allows them to eat two different populations of antelope, thus not having to compete with each other.